Talks about the fact that she has blue eyes, and then she says, I have great genes, because she's wearing jeans. But according to the woke people, this means that she's a white supremacist. It also doesn't help that her bra size is 36 kkk. And again, all the research shows that these trigger warnings don't even work. What they do is reinforce the idea that trauma is central to your identity and that you should let it define you instead of dealing with it, dispatching it, and moving beyond it. People wonder why the younger generations have so much anxiety. It's this stuff. Lots of stuff makes us uncomfortable. You know what makes me uncomfortable? This.
You'd think the whole Sydney Sweeney controversy would be over by now, but apparently not. The woke left is still losing its mind, scrambling to cancel her over what was, by any reasonable measure, a harmless ad. It hardly surprising, though, given that the perpetually offended crowd never misses a chance to manufacture outrage. Enter Bill Maher, who proceeds to absolutely dismantle the woke mob for coming after Sydney Sweeney, and the result is pure comedy gold. Let's break it down.
Guys, I'm off the grid for August, but Bill Maher is getting close. I don't know if he'll get there, but he's getting closer to the promised land, maybe. Bill, come on.
And in other uncomfortable racial news, sad news, we found out this week that Sydney Sweeney is a Nazi. That was just... no, she's not. But you all see the ad that she's out there. This is a very important ad that we're seeing now. There she is, dressed like Jay Leno in all blue denim. And she talks about the fact that she has blue eyes, and then she says, I have great genes, because she's wearing jeans. But according to the woke people, this means that she's a white supremacist. It also doesn't help that her bra size is 36 kkk.
Maher wraps up the entire Sydney Sweeney brouhaha in one sharp, comedic sweep, effortlessly skewering the far left along the way. To anyone with a shred of common sense, the ad was obviously just a playful pun, a harmless joke with no intent whatsoever to promote racial stereotypes or white supremacist messaging. But unsurprisingly, the perpetually offended brigade managed to contort it into yet another manufactured crisis, behaving as if Sweeney had personally rewritten history simply by appearing on screen. Maher, never one to tiptoe around delicate feelings, gleefully throws gasoline on the fire. With unapologetic deadpan delivery, he jokes that the internet treated her like some kind of extremist villain, as if her bra size were a secret hate group dog whistle. It's the kind of joke that perfectly exposes how unhinged the outrage machine has become. Bold, biting, and uncomfortably accurate comedy at its finest.
I will say this, they should have been aware when they wrote this ad that this is what some people were going to think. I don't think they did it on purpose, but I also think it's pretty funny that all the online social justice girls are like, it's racist. There's no such thing as good genes. Right, and then you go on Tinder and swipe left on every bald guy.
Let's be honest, the ad writers knew this kind of over-the-top backlash was inevitable. They saw it coming from a mile away, and they went ahead anyway. And frankly, that's exactly how it should be. We're supposed to live in a free society where creativity doesn't need advance approval from the outraged police. People should be free to joke, experiment with ideas, and express themselves without fearing a digital mob ready to pounce the moment someone steps out of line. As long as the law isn't being broken, that's the end of the conversation. That's the whole point of constitutional free expression. It protects uncomfortable humor, sharp satire, and imperfect opinions just as much as it protects the safe, sanitized stuff. If freedom only applies when no one is offended, then it isn't freedom at all, it's compliance. And the collective panic over a harmless pun only proves why voices like Maher still matter.
Finally, new rule, let's put a trigger warning on trigger warnings. A new study from Flinders University analyzed a dozen other studies on trigger warnings, and they all came to the same conclusion. They don't work. Not only don't they protect your feelings, but if you actually have been traumatized by something they're warning you about, a trigger warning makes it worse. It's like if seatbelts were made out of broken glass. It winds up just being a reenactment of the old joke, how do you keep a pussy in suspense? I'll tell you later.
Many of the people furious over Sweeney had even claimed it should have come with a trigger warning, as if a light-hearted commercial suddenly deserved the same caution label as a psychological thriller. They argued viewers needed to be protected from its supposedly offensive content. Maher isn't having it. He pushes back hard, pointing out an obvious reality: trigger warnings don't actually work. Human curiosity always wins. The moment you tell people, "Don't look at this," their instinct is to do exactly that. It's basic psychology. Our curiosity will consistently overpower our fragile sensibilities. Rather than shielding anyone, a trigger warning would have guaranteed more clicks, more outrage, and an avalanche of frantic think pieces from the perpetually offended. Maher's point is simple but razor sharp: warnings don't prevent reactions, they amplify them. And in this case, the very people demanding protection would have sprinted to watch the ad the second a warning label appeared.
Now, for those of you who have been living on an offshore oil rig for the last 10 years and don't know what I'm talking about, a trigger warning is a kind of close your eyes, here comes an ouchie. That, like so many bad ideas in recent years, got started on college campuses. Students started demanding them so they could get ready in case something in a book or a piece of art or a history lesson reminded them that life included bad things and not just good, and sometimes people were mean. You can't have that just sprung on you. Several universities in recent years have even compiled lists of words we should be warned about to get rid of altogether, including balls to the wall, no can do, you guys, master, white paper, man in the middle, gyp, off the reservation, peanut gallery, insane, and virgin. Virgin?
Maher's analogy is brutally simple. Life doesn't come with trigger warnings, hard moments, painful truths, and unexpected challenges arrive without flashing lights or gentle disclaimers. So why, he asks, should college lectures be treated any differently? By the time you're sitting in a university classroom, you're legally an adult over 18 and supposedly preparing to face the real world. If you can manage adulthood, bills, relationships, social media chaos, and whatever else life throws your way, you should be able to sit through an uncomfortable topic without needing a verbal safety net. Maher also highlights the irony. The same students demanding emotional padding are often immersed in things that would have shocked older generations: explicit content, chaotic online trends, wild nightlife, and everything in between. Yet suddenly, a lecture topic is unbearable. It doesn't add up. Trigger warnings aren't protecting anyone, they're training people to be fragile.
Can't say virgin as opposed to what? Person experiencing not getting laid? You would think that one would take the cake for the oversensitivity, but the students at Brandeis said, "Hold my baby bottle." They made a list of expressions they don't want to hear because they remind them of violence. Terms like killing it, beating a dead horse, and yes, even trigger warning.
These censored words are routinely replaced with clunky, overstuffed phrases that are either laughably unnecessary or completely incoherent. And even when the substitute technically works, it still takes extra time just to figure out what the speaker actually means. It's linguistic gymnastics with no real payoff. Take the word virgin, for instance. Rather than using a simple, universally understood term, some people insist on swapping it out for the absurd phrase "a person who has yet to get laid." It sounds less like inclusive language and more like a bad joke from a parody sketch. Yet this is the kind of bizarre rebranding the woke crowd proudly promotes. It all part of the same performance, the illusion of enlightenment through overcomplication. Instead of clarity, we get empty theater. Instead of communication, we get confusion masquerading as virtue. And in the end, no one is helped by these awkward linguistic acrobatics.
At some point, the trigger warning escaped from campus and got out into the real world, and now they're everywhere. Warnings at the top of Reddit threads and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram posts. Warnings before your favorite serial killer series, before news articles. Disney put an advisory on the movie Dumbo, warning viewers about stereotypes because otherwise you might think it was a documentary about flying elephants. Turner Classic Movies still wants to show you classic movies, but before we do, first there are a few parts we'd like you to feel really bad about. Now enjoy the show. Theaters do it now, too. The storied Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis tipped off their crowd that a play included simulated gunshots, strobe lights, and haze. Haze.
Who exactly could a little haze possibly hurt or offend? Sometimes these trigger warnings drift straight into absurdity. Think about it. What real harm can a bit of fog in a theater do? It's just atmospheric mist designed to enhance lighting, and some emotional landmine waiting to detonate. Yet, some insist it requires a warning, as if a gentle haze has the power to unleash trauma on unsuspecting audience members. Sure, someone might argue it could remind a person of a bad dream or a chaotic nightmare, but even that is a stretch. If a bit of stage fog is enough to send someone spiraling, the problem isn't the haze, it's the over-the-top sensitivity we're now expected to accommodate. Eventually, these warnings stop being useful and start being downright irritating. Not everything needs a caution label. Sometimes, a harmless effect is just a harmless effect.
And again, all the research shows that these trigger warnings don't even work. What they do is reinforce the idea that trauma is central to your identity and that you should let it define you instead of dealing with it, dispatching it, and moving beyond it. People wonder why the younger generations have so much anxiety. It's this stuff. Lots of stuff makes us uncomfortable. You know what makes me uncomfortable? This bullshit.
Maher is absolutely right. Instead of letting trauma cast a permanent shadow over every step you take, the healthier approach is to confront it, ideally with real support, professional help, or trusted guidance if you have access. True healing comes from working through the pain, not tiptoeing around anything that might trigger a memory. Trigger warnings don't actually protect anyone, they reinforce the very fears they claim to soften. By constantly signaling that a topic is dangerous or overwhelming, they train your mind to expect distress before anything even happens. Rather than empowering you, trigger warnings often keep you trapped in the same emotional cycle, reminding you repeatedly of what hurt you. They don't build resilience, they erode it. Maher's point is simple but powerful. You don't grow stronger by avoiding life. You grow stronger by facing the hard stuff gradually, safely, and with the right support, until it no longer controls you.
People who start every conversation with, as a person who, as a survivor of, I'm triggered every time I see a trigger warning. Because I'm reminded of how weak my country has become. It's like wearing a mask on your mind. We keep finding out about new health problems kids have from being locked inside for 3 years, exposed only to filtered air during the COVID era. Turns out that's not healthy. But you know, there is an alternative way of dealing with anxiety. And let me put it in comic book terms so the kids can relate. Bruce Wayne, you're familiar, was afraid of bats. So what did he do? He became Batman. That's the way to go.
The best way to overcome your fears is to face them head on, not hide behind a wall of trigger warnings. Warnings might feel protective in the moment, but in reality, they only encourage avoidance. They subtly teach you that the world is full of danger, that you're too fragile to handle discomfort, and that stepping outside your emotional bubble is risky. Over time, that mindset doesn't make you safer, it makes you weaker, more anxious, and controlled by the very fears you're trying to escape. True strength comes from exposure. By confronting something that scares you, even in small steps, you gradually diminish its power. The fear shrinks, your confidence grows, and you begin to realize you're capable of far more than you imagined. That's how courage is forged, not through warnings and coddling, but through resilience, experience, and the willingness to push through brief discomfort to reclaim your confidence.
Honestly, we cannot go any further in the other direction we've been going in. We've already passed the point of parity. A student group in Australia recently called for trigger warnings on eye contact. Even the Taliban are okay with eyes. Eye contact? Were you traumatized as a child after losing a staring contest? What's next? Trigger warnings for conversations? Having everyone walk around with name tags that say, "Hi, I'm Dave. Please don't bring up doorknobs."
At the end of the day, the whole Sydney Sweeney controversy is just another illustration of how hypersensitive and theatrical the modern outrage machine has become. A harmless ad escalated into a national crisis, trigger warnings were demanded for the most absurd reasons, and even simple words were twisted into clunky, cartoonish phrases in the name of sensitivity. Maher cuts straight to the obvious truth: life doesn't come with warnings, and pretending it does only fosters fragility, not strength. Trigger warnings don't heal trauma, they amplify it. They don't build resilience, they erode it. And they certainly don't solve cultural debates, they just add more noise. Whether it haze in a theater or a playful pun in a commercial, we can't bubble wrap reality to protect every feeling. Strength and sanity come from facing life head on, not censoring it. Maher takedown is exactly the wake-up call we needed. And that brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.